I'm Jeanette Boysen Fitzgerald, and we're here at Boysen Berry Farm in Orland, California, ready to tell you a story about my grandfather, Rudy Boysen, and his Boysenberry, and how it made its journey up and down the state of California. Okay, it started out in Napa with my grandfather back in 1923 when he did cross-pollination experiments, and he came up with this wonderfully delicious Boysenberry, but he didn't have a name for it yet. That was in 1923, and 2 years later he moved south to Southern California, and that's where he became a resident of Anaheim and eventually the Anaheim superintendent, of which our friend Steve Faessel here is an Anaheim resident and historian and did much research about my grandfather and let me get to know him better, actually.
Thank you, Nettie. Yes, Mr. Boysen arrived in Anaheim in 1925. Actually, he moved south in order to care for the citrus ranch that his in-laws had. And about 1926, 25, 26, he became a employee of the city of Anaheim, and by 1927, he became the park superintendent. And the first place that he worked on was what we today call Pearson Park. And that was a 20-acre opportunity for him to exercise his wonderment in cactus and horticulture. And he was well loved in the city of Anaheim, not so much for the berry, which had languished, but for his love of the community, and they loved him back. So by 1927, he became the park superintendent, built up not only what is today Pearson Park, but in the late 1930s, he built our second city park, La Palma Park. And in fact, the same Chamber of Commerce in the 1930s and 1940s called Anaheim the city of the beautiful parks. And that was totally due to Mr. Boysen. And then by, unfortunately, 1950, he passed.
Now, here's the interesting thing, though. During all those years, when he moved south in 1925, he knew he had something with these berries, okay? So he took some roots with him south and planted them in a ditch there in Fullerton, where the orange ranch it was. Now, another person who's done a lot of research with Steve is Chris Jepsen, who found out about a lot of these little details, one of which happened between Rudy and Walter Knott back in 1932.
Sure. Well, I'll just back up a little bit. I got interested in the story of Rudy Boysen. Being an Orange County historian, this is a story that people know something about it, but they don't know a lot about it, and they have a lot of bad information.
Yes, they do.
And I thought, well, somebody needs to sit down, dig out this information, and research the story, and that's what ended up leading to a rather lengthy article that I put together for Countiana Historical Journal. And while I was doing that, I realized that my old friend Steve Faessel, his family knew the Boysens, and he could bring something to the story that nobody else could, which was the story of what kind of guy was he? What was his personality, and what did he mean to the city of Anaheim? That was all very important, and that's those personal aspects I couldn't have reached any other way. But as far as the rest of the story of, following his life and his work with the Boysenberry and what happened with that was something that, really that's the rest of the article, and hopefully will be a book sometime soon. But when he got to Anaheim, he'd been there for a while, and originally he'd been in Fullerton taking care of his mother-in-law. And he planted these Boysenberry vines at the back of her orange grove, forgot about him, went on to a very busy, productive life, and kind of went on with other projects. Years later, an agent of the FDA who had heard about this berry long before came to town finally looking for the berry. Couldn't find them anywhere, and everyone said, well, we don't know, but go talk to the local berry expert, Walter Knott, who had Knott's Berry Farm. And he went to Walter Knott, and Walter said, well, I don't know this Boysen guy, But come into my office, and they went in behind the office behind their famous chicken dinner restaurant and looked up Rudy Boysen, gave him a call, and he said, well, I'm pretty sure those vines are dead. I've almost forgotten about them. They're at the back of this orange grove, but you're welcome to come out and look at them. I'll take you out there. They went out, they found these scraggly, dead-looking vines in a ditch at the back of an orange grove in Fullerton. He didn't even own the property anymore at that point. And the guy from the FDA and Rudy Boysen both said, I don't think this has a shot. I think it's gone. It's kaput. And Walter Knott, though, always being an enterprising fellow, said, I think I can do something with this. Would you let me dig this up and see if I can do something with it? And Rudy Boysen, always being a generous soul, said, yes, take it, do whatever you like with it, it's yours. And he went off, and Walter Knott built a good share of his empire on that berry. He'd been a successful berry farmer before, but this took him to a whole new level and really international fame. And almost all the boysenberries in the world date back to that original, back to that berry vine that was almost dead in the back of that orange grove. And I say almost because we happen to know where there were some other vines, don't we?
And that's where this sign, Merced, comes in, where my grandfather's oldest brother, he got permission to go dig up the original boysenberry vine from Napa, took it home to his home in Merced, and planted it there, and it grew there for many years. I have a picture of my grandmother eating boysenberries from that very vine. That vine and starts from it were given away in 1976, right? At a wedding, and this is where Alice comes in. This is where my cousin Alice got some vines from.
Other relatives?
Yeah, from the relatives there.
We were at the wedding of Mike's brother, my husband Mike's brother Paul, to his wife Carrie. Carrie's mother's maiden name was Boysen. See, she was one of the daughters of Leland Boysen, the brother to Rudy. And Grandma Gussie brought a shoebox with clippings of her vines from Merced, rooted clippings. And she said, because all you Maseks have married now into the Boysen family, I can give you these vines. 2 rules: only give them to family members, and you have to take them with you when you move. So Mike and I took them to our Hayward backyard, and 2 years later when we moved to Castro Valley, we dutifully took them with us. And I kept them going for 40 years for my own children to have the berries, with no idea that they were as special as they were.
Yes. And then in 2017, I got a call, or 2016, from Chris when he was working on that article, asking me if I was the daughter of Rudy Boysen, and I immediately got tears.
You, granddaughter, yeah.
Yes,
right?
the granddaughter.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Daughter.
Yeah.
No, granddaughter.
Yeah.
Anyways, so long story short, too late for that. Chris was able to track down Alice from
actually
yeah.
our sister-in-law, Carrie.
Yes, because of the research that you did and found out.
Tracking down any Boysen family member I could find, and
Yes.
a lot of cold calling just to see if I might be right.
And after reading about the original vine being moved from Napa to Merced and wondering if it was still alive, unfortunately he did track down Alice, who shared some vines with me. We grew them in my girlfriend's backyard in Fallbrook, California. That first year, mostly Tom,
Your husband,
propagated.
Tom.
My
Your
husband Tom propagated
Mm-hmm.
900 starts from the original 24 that she shared with us, and a year later we bought this property here at Boysen Berry Farm and established it in 2018.
And can I just say, one of the most important things about this story is the boysenberry that's being grown here, the berry itself.
Yes.
Because it is genetically the same as the berry that Rudolf Boysen developed himself. And he talked about how big that berry was when he grew it in Napa, and he'd say it was as big as my thumb. And what's happened over the course of all these years is, like every agricultural product. It has been genetically modified simply by farmers deciding, I'm going to reproduce that plant and that plant because I like them better. And over time, you do that enough times, you end up with a different berry. And what most of the world knows as a boysenberry today is very different from Rudy's original boysenberry, except on Boysen Berry Farm.
Yes, yes. And you can taste the difference. It's such a blessing.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.